My local theatre recently screened a film called Mr. Blank. Everybody who's watched it has now gone missing. A story by Mr. Outlaw.
It's weird, right? Whatever. Might as well check it out. Haven't seen a horror movie that's actually scared me in a while.
That was the last text Lacey sent me before she went missing. I know it's irrational, but I hate myself for not doing something. For not stopping her. But how was I supposed to know? How could I have anticipated anything that was going to happen after? The film, whatever the hell it is, made its way into our small town like a plague only a few days ago. 12 people bought tickets for it. 12 people are now missing. Among them was Lacey, my girlfriend of over 2 years. At the risk of sounding like that guy, our future was looking nothing but promising. We have plans. Well, we did. Until Mr. fucking Blank showed up. This is nowhere near a conventional missing persons case, of course. The rabbit hole goes deep here. And honestly, the details simply don't make any sense. From what I managed to dig up, this is a general timeline of what had happened. An option to buy tickets for the film shows up at one of the 3 theatres in our town, which is about a 20-minute walk from my house. Only that one, and it wasn't available online, only at the front counter of the theatre itself. It wasn't supposed to be in regular rotation. Also, none of the employees at the theatre were informed about any special screening. They simply came in and saw that it had replaced the 5:30 p.m. slot for the pre-existing film. They didn't question it, because why would they? The first and only screening was at 5:30 p.m. on that day. The theatre wasn't the busiest, but it wasn't empty either. Of course, most people opted to skip it, given the lack of any information regarding the film. With that being said, the only people who bought tickets were younger, likely curious about the odd title. The film lasted about 1 hour and 10 minutes, with all the previews and credits considered. Pretty short for a feature, At 6:40 p.m., an employee entered the theatre for cleanup duty. What he found were rows and rows of empty seats, with drink cups still in the holders and popcorn littered all over the floors. No blood, no signs of a struggle. Nobody had left or entered the theatre after the film had begun, with confirmation from the security cameras. The theatre itself had no cameras inside, so that part remains a mystery. The screen allegedly consisted of nothing but dark static. That's what we're told, at least. I have a feeling that some details were left out from there, considering the fact that the employee in question is now missing as well. Also rumored to have gone into the catatonic state after being questioned. The manager of the theatre, who never greeted the employees that morning, as he usually did at least, was found dead in his office, with severe wounds to his neck left from a plastic bike lock that was likely used to strangle him. A new employee was hired about 3 weeks prior. The other employees described him as a quiet but nice guy. He was working the day of the incident. You guessed it, he's missing as well. Also suspect number 1 in the investigation. However, they're really grasping for straws at that one. I wouldn't doubt that this employee had something to do with it, but the logistics behind the whole situation just aren't cohesive enough to make that call for sure. Some additional details. No copy of the film has been found. No progress has been made on the search for the missing people. Hell, it hardly seems like they're even trying. The local cops have strangely rushed about the whole thing, almost like they don't want people asking about it. They literally threatened to arrest me when I kept pressing them for details. There's been a lot of vehicles with tinted windows parked near the theatre and surrounding areas, some even in my own community. Well, that's the situation. I can't focus on anything right now. My brain's scattered and my anxiety's been going through the roof. Sue me, what the hell do you expect? Lacey has to be out there somewhere, right? How the hell is somebody just supposed to disappear into thin air? What the hell kind of film was Mr. Blank? Christ, I'm getting a headache just thinking about it. My initial grief has been replaced more so by confusion and anger. I might just start searching for answers myself. I won't be alone, though. Rose, Lacey's best friend, and Mike, her brother, are just as bent on figuring this out as I am. I'm not going in blind, though. In fact, I have two leads. One is more of a shot in the dark, but the other should lead us somewhere concrete. I'll start off with the former. A few weeks ago, I remembered my little brother telling me about a strange man he saw carved into a tree. It was allegedly accompanied by messy and frantic repetitions of the word "stop" around it. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but it might be relevant now. Maybe not. We'll see. The other came up whilst I was searching for answers online. After feverishly posting about the film on what I considered to be relevant forums and yielding no answers, somebody finally messaged me about it, claiming that they had information that I might like to know. Luckily, they're only a 3-hour drive from here, and are willing to meet halfway. Is this a bad idea? Probably. Am I going to like what I find? Probably not. But the thought of Lacey being out there in God knows what kind of fucked up situation, I just can't take it. I'm not letting it end like this. And we're off. The person who'd messaged me, online name ScreenGrabber22, told me to call him Jay, has agreed to meet up at a diner in town about 1 hour away from us and 2 away from him. He seemed genuine enough whilst I was talking to him online, but intentions can be hard to ascertain over text. Still worth a shot, I guess. I'd do anything to figure this out. Mike was all in from the get-go. I suppose I felt safer with him around, given the fact that he stood 6'2" and 200+ pounds, boasting a 650-pound deadlift and a borderline obsession with both French kickboxing and long-range shooting. Obviously, he didn't like the idea that something might be happening to his sister. Hell, I had to stay on my shoes just to stop him from knocking me out when he found out Lacey and I were first dating. He was also pissed as hell at both his parents for being so complacent about the situation and the cops for not yielding any results. On the other hand, Rose was wary about the situation at first. Couldn't blame her completely, really. This shit was weird. But at the end of the day, we all really wanted to find Lacey. Enough so to venture off into what was ostensibly a dangerous unknown. The drive over was uneventful, which I suppose was a good thing. I had a feeling that the humdrum nature of our little trip wasn't going to last, though. "What a seedy-ass place," Mike stated as he stepped out of the vehicle. I couldn't disagree. Flickering luminescent lights, peeling paint, and nearly empty parking lot. A place that truly hadn't caught up with the times. Guy was probably bullshitting about knowing anything. If he got us out here to try something, I guess I'll blow off some steam by stomping his shit in. I expected nothing less from him.
Anything to find Lacey, but don't do anything stupid. I know you're gonna, Rose said before taking the lead and heading towards the entrance.
"Hey, wait up!" Mike called out, running after her. I took a deep breath before following suit. This was happening. We were taking matters into our own hands. The place was sparsely populated inside, about 6 other people in total. Green hoodie, black hat, I muttered to myself. Jay's outfit of choice, apparently. Didn't take long to spot him. I was relatively relieved upon realizing that he was on the younger side. He looked just slightly older than us, probably early 20s, late teens. Nothing terribly noteworthy about his appearance. A skinny guy with medium-length, dirty blonde hair. "Jay?" I asked, approaching his table. He looked up. I realized that there was something off about him. His eyes. They looked a little unhinged. Low-key, though. That's a strong way of describing it, I guess. But there's a reason why that was the first word that popped into my head when my pupils met his. He gave me a slight smile before awkwardly gesturing for us to sit. "So," he said, taking a sip of his coffee. His movements were also rather jittery. "You want to know about the movie?" We all nodded at once. He let out a weird noise, like something halfway between a sneer and a cough. But why? Why do you even know about it to begin with? Doesn't matter why, Mike spoke up. We just want to know. Don't tell me you're going to waste our time. He tended to get quite dramatic sometimes. I'll tell you what you need to know, Jay said, after a few more moments of silence. All right, get on with it. You guys need to drop it. Stop thinking about it. Christ. What the hell did I just say? I'm not wasting your time. I'm saving your lives. Just as Mike seemed to be reaching his wit's end, which wasn't hard to get to, mind you, Rose chimed in.
What do you mean? Look, our friend went missing. We're not leaving without something, please.
Her tone was much softer, which seemed to calm Jay down. I'm sorry that happened. But I don't think you're going to find her. You son of a bitch, Mike said, slamming the table. Jay flinched at the action.
Look, I've given you the best advice I can. Just leave it alone.
If that was the case, you wouldn't have agreed to meet up. There's clearly something that you feel we should know.
No.
Jay shook his head.
If I left it like that, you would have kept digging deeper. I called you here to convince you to let it go.
Not gonna happen, Mike said. So you either tell us something, or say goodbye to your teeth. Ignore him, I chimed in. But you gotta tell us something. Like what the hell Mr. Blank is supposed to be. I was getting desperate. My hopes had been spiked, perhaps to an unreasonably high degree, but I still wasn't prepared to just leave it at that. I needed something. I could see Jay's bottom lip quiver just slightly upon hearing the question.
He
muttered. It looked as if he could hardly muster up an answer. He looked terrified, which in turn terrified me. At one point it seemed as if he was about to cry, but he took a deep breath, seemingly calming himself down. So you guys aren't going to let this go? I shook my head. How were we supposed to? He clicked his tongue in a frustrated tone. His previous face of distress had morphed into something more comparable to anger, as if this whole situation was beginning to bother him something greatly. Okay, I guess you forced my hand. He whispered something under his breath. Sounded relatively aggressive. Truth be told, Jay's reservation towards the situation was only spiking my interest even more. What was he so afraid of? He gestured towards the exit. Follow me then. I'll show you something. It was nearly a mutter. Follow you, I thought. All right then. I'm not a total idiot. The red flags were sticking out like sore thumbs. But at the end of the day, I suppose this is exactly what we were asking for. In my pocket, I gripped the stiletto knife from Italy that Lacey had gotten me a few months back. Just in case, you know? With all of us on high alert, we walked out of the diner and began following Jay's beat-up Jeep. The subsequent drive wasn't long, probably only 3 to 4 minutes. An inherent symptom of small towns, I guess. He led us to a small hotel. Looked kinda dingy, but not terribly so. Nevertheless, it was another cause for concern. He only lived 2 hours away. Why stay the night? He sighed as he exited his vehicle, gesturing us up the stairs. We ascended 3 floors and walked past a few doors before arriving at his room. Mike and Rose walked in first, and then I followed. Big mistake. So, what did you want to... Before I could even finish my sentence, my vision went black. I'm not sure how long I was knocked out for, but when I came to, I was lying on the couch, nursing a splitting headache.
Yo! He's awake!
Mike's booming voice felt like a hammer to my brain. I looked up and saw him holding Jay in a headlock. There was a baseball bat lying a few feet away from them. Rose was standing at the foot of the couch, looking relieved that I wasn't dead.
Oh, thank God.
You won't be thanking anybody once he shows up. I'm trying to save you fucking idiots.
Jay rasped out, struggling for air. What happened wasn't exactly a mystery. Jay had tried taking my head off with the damn bat. With my brain still reeling, I pulled myself off the couch and approached him, all the while struggling against Mike's python-like arms. "So," I said, still wincing, "what the fuck was that?" Jay's face was starting to go beet red, so I gestured for Mike to loosen his grip. He began panting like hell upon being released. "Who the fuck is Mr. Blank? I'll ask you one more time. Or do you want to explain to the cops why the hell you just fucking assaulted me?" His expression had changed drastically. Not so angry anymore. He looked more defeated.
"I tried,"
he said in a hoarse voice. "Tried to do what?"
"To save you people.
To save myself. So what the hell was your plan? Knock us out and then what?
I don't know. I panicked. I didn't know what to do. But I had to get you guys to stop somehow. You forced me to."
"I get it now. You're a crazy guy. We've been talking to a psycho. Good job, guys." Was that it? I thought to myself. Were we just wasting our time talking to a guy who'd clearly gone off the deep end? I wasn't so sure. I'd had encounters with the criminally insane before. My father had worked security at a psychiatric ward, and I'd visited him there a few times before. This guy, he just didn't fit the bill. I suppose his words sounded genuine. Of course, I could know for sure, so I remained cautious. Jay slumped against the wall, tilting his head against it.
"I never could escape him.
Though I don't think anyone ever does." "Who?" I asked, already expecting the answer I was about to receive. He looked over at me directly.
"Mr. Blank."
His voice quivered. It seemed as if merely saying the name caused him a great deal of discomfort.
"I don't know where he came from. What he even is."
We kept quiet as he talked. We were finally getting what we came for.
"He's incomprehensible. Imagine the worst, most visceral nightmare you've ever had. That's nothing compared to an encounter with him. You can't outrun him, can't kill him, can't deal with him in any way. And once he's after you, he won't stop. You just have to pray that you'll never meet him."
A look of absolute grief suddenly washed over his face.
"But it's too late now. You've pried too hard. He's already on his way."
"You want to elaborate on that?" He smirked at the question. It was the one that unsettled me to my core. The smile wasn't one of joy or relief, not even close. It was more comparable to a smile that somebody in great pain would make upon learning that their misery would soon come to an end.
I shouldn't have spoken his name again, but I guess it doesn't matter. This is the end of the line for me.
Suddenly, as if he were a man possessed, he drilled his elbow into Mike's ribs and began scrambling away from him. He barreled past me and into the washroom. Before I could even try to stop him myself, he'd locked himself in there.
"Shit,"
I muttered. I began banging on the bathroom door.
"What the hell are you doing? I tried talking some sense into you. This is my punishment for failing. What the hell are you talking about, man? Come on, we'll figure it out. I can't deal with what happens next," he said through the wood. "My nightmare ends here. I'll pray that your suffering ends up being less than mine."
A short silence followed.
"I'll pray for your friend as well. I suggest you do the same. Come on, don't do anything stupid."
Too late. I heard his body slump to the ground moments later. When we finally got the door open, Jay was lying limp on the floor, with an empty, unlabeled pill bottle beside him.
"Fucking hell,"
Mike said, sounding frustrated.
"Jeez,"
Rose added, looking understandably horrified.
"What the hell do we do now? Do we call the cops or something?"
"Fuck no. I'm not dealing with that. Let them find the guy themselves. He overdosed. Simple as that." He turned to me. You're not bleeding, are you?
I touched the back of my head. Dry. I shook my head.
Good. No blood. No suspicion. Let's get the hell out of here then.
That's not how it works. We also busted the bathroom door down, remember? He seemed to think about it for a moment, before coming to his final, profound conclusion.
Fuck it.
I had my own reservations about leaving the situation the way it was, but Mike was already out the door before I could say anything else. In the moment, there was nothing I could do but follow him. Call it selfish, but the situation was beyond helping at that point. But if you asked me if I felt somewhat responsible for Jay's death, then I'd have to answer in the affirmative. The feeling in my stomach as we walked to the car was not a good one. The drive back was relatively silent. We'd gotten next to no answers, had a hell of a lot more questions, and had just witnessed a fucking suicide. On top of that, there was somebody following us. I don't think either Mike or Rose had noticed it. The driver was doing a good job of being discreet after all. Suddenly, I remember the sketchy vehicles that had been parked out around town. I looked back at the vehicle. Yep. Tinted windshield. I don't think I'm going to tell them. Nerves are already high, and abrupt panic probably isn't going to help us here. One thing's for sure, though. The situation has gotten a lot more complicated.
Hello everyone. I'm sure you've noticed by now that I have this channel, this amazing channel where I read horror stories. Well, I have another channel called Basically Nature, where, basically, I talk about nature. And I thought I'd advertise that because I put a lot more work into the videos and I love educating and talking about wildlife and animals in general. So if you're interested, please check it out. I do things like this. Newt's larvae also possess true teeth. I know, truly amazing. So, if you want to check it out, it's Basically Nature, and it's usually linked in the description. Thanks for watching.